Hello and welcome to Confused Reviews, where Cartoon Drawing reviews movies. And when you think of the greatest filmmakers of all time, you most likely think of people like Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese, Edgar Wright, and of course, Steven Spielberg. But to me, there's one man who is one of the best of the industry who doesn't get as much attention or respect as I believe he should, and that man is Sam Raimi. Sure, he's now gone on to make some of the biggest movies of all time, but it wasn't always like that, and in fact, he most likely would have never gotten to where he is today if he didn't bust his ass making one of the most influential horror movies ever made. And that movie is none other than the 1981 cult classic, The Evil Dead. Nowadays, any casual horror fan is aware of Ash Williams and his many encounters with the Book of the Dead.
Groovy.
But I doubt most know the gruesome history and insane production of The Evil Dead, so let's bounce back to the late 70s and take a look at how a couple of Michigan filmmakers would change the horror genre forever. While attending Michigan State University, a hungry young filmmaker named Sam Raimi began running his films in the school's auditorium, but he wasn't content with that for long, and after seeing the 70s spawn some great, but also some garbage horror movies, he set his sights on making a feature film, determined to make one of the best. With the help of Rob Tapert and Bruce Campbell, he made a couple of starter flicks like Clockwork and eventually Within the Woods, and in a shocking twist had Bruce Campbell as the possessed antagonist. Within the Woods doesn't really offer much today, but it did receive unanimous praise for its scares and helped them raise a chunk of the budget for the big feature film, which he decided to make revolve around the Egyptian Book of the Dead. So they packed up their bags and headed out to Tennessee, where they had to remove cow manure from the abandoned cabin floor, and after fixing it up for filmmaking, they began the brutal shoot that would sometimes lead to 16-hour workdays. They wore hard contacts that burned the actors' eyes, there were injuries to everyone on set, and Sam's ambitions led to more and more ideas and stuff to be shot, which meant a lot of the crew left after the 12 weeks of chaotic filmmaking, so they hired fake shemps to serve as stand-ins for the departed cast members, as well as a loving homage to the Three Stooges. But in an even more crazy move, the 5 remaining cast members shot even more scenes and weren't even keeping track of continuity anymore. And after years of work, many sleepless nights, and a lot of fake blood and guts, The Evil Dead was finished. And it's still a fucking miracle a movie got stitched together at all, and even more shocking how good it turned out. So with the fascinating Cliff Notes backstory out of the way, let's just dive into it and see if the fruits of their labor paid off and is a well-deserved classic or might not have held up as well as many remember. This is The Evil Dead. So the film begins with our adorable little band of characters heading up to a cabin. There's Scott and Shelley, played by Richard DeManincor and Theresa Tilly, as well as Linda and Cheryl, played by Betsy Baker and Ellen Sandweiss, respectively. And how could I possibly forget one of the baddest mofos in any movie ever, Ashley Ash Williams, played by Bruce motherfucking Campbell. So yeah, the 5 of them are going on a kind of couples retreat of sorts for spring break, where Scott and Shelley are together, Ash and Linda are a thing, and Cheryl is, there too. Ash is giving directions as Scotty almost hits a truck. What a glorious line delivery. So great, you probably didn't even notice that his head's out the window, only for them to be rolled up a second later. Their journey continues as we see Sam Raimi and Rob Tapert on the side of the road. No joke.
I'll go to hell, I'm not honking at you!
And they make it to a rickety bridge, only to see, what the fuck is that?! In reality, that's Rob Tapert hiding in the bushes, and it's actually removed from the Blu-ray version. The bridge then almost kills them all before the demons can, and they make it to said cabin. Here, Swing, eat a Snickers, because you seem real upset about something.
Could it be Satan?
Scott barges into the joint and sees all the workings of a scary cabin, ominous fog, dead animal trophies, and a shed Leatherface would just love to work in. Night falls upon us.
Quick, fast, and in a hurry.
And Cheryl hears some Jehovah's Witnesses outside. Only to suddenly have the urge to draw scary books onto her paper. Who doesn't angrily draw demonic pictures of books with faces on them? I have a whole collection of notebooks just like that. They begin dinner when the cellar door flies open. Probably just the wind.
You think?
They head over to investigate, and oh, this reminds me, Scotty, what do you think of them making Star Wars spin-offs every other year until the end of time?
That That is the stupidest thing I ever heard of.
My thoughts exactly. Anywho, Scotty jumps down to check it out, only for Ash to follow soon after. And something really interesting is that, ironically enough, one of the most iconic locations in the Evil Dead mythos, the cellar, wasn't actually in that cabin. You see, the abandoned cabin they used for the original didn't have any sort of basement, so they dug a hole in the ground and shot the scenes of them in the cellar months later back in Michigan. Which is crazy watching how they cut it together so well. Chances are you'd never know. Anyways, Ash gets scared by Scott, and he shows him all the cool shit that's down there, like a gun, a Hills Have Eyes poster, a tape recorder, a Sumerian dagger with a face, and a creepy book, also with a face, that looks like an edgy med school student's notebook. They take all their findings upstairs, and begin listening to the riveting tapes of incarnations.
It has been a number of years since I began excavating the ruins of Kandar.
And Cheryl, already over this shit, stops the tape, which in retrospect might have been the right way to go. But Scott doesn't give a fuck.
Hey, come on, I just want to hear the rest of it. No big deal.
And summons the Deadites the same way you get Slappy to come to life in Goosebumps.
Tatra amistrobin
Karu Marie,
hazarta. Tatir mano mansizon hazan sobar.
Odana, Loma,
Saman la robza. Dar his hiker dans de rodza.
Malonu, Karano.
The same tree from Poltergeist busts in, and Ash and Linda have a heart-to-heart, and he even gives her the perfect piece of jewelry to kill ants with. In the other room, Cheryl hears the soliciting salesman Deadites, and heads outside to take a closer look. Come on, Cheryl, you're never supposed to jump towards the danger. You should run as fast as you can in the other direction. Now, what could that be? What the hell? I don't think I ordered another Amazon package. Holy shit! Whatever. Back to the review. She continues her search through the woods.
I know someone's out there.
I've seen Friday the 13th. But no matter, as the tree branches begin attacking her, and, you all know what happens next. I'll never look at Groot the same way again.
I'm Groot.
She nopes the fuck out of that fetish filth and runs like Usain Bolt back to the cabin, even if she does fall a few times. She makes it back, but can't manage to get back inside.
The suspense is terrible. I hope it'll last.
Ash grabs her in the nick of time, and she sounds like a schizo lunatic, so Ash tries driving her into town. But turns out the force was all like,
Fuck that!
and took out the bridge, leaving them stranded. I'd just like to mention that I love that detail, making an already isolated situation 10 times more claustrophobic, as now they're literally completely fucked. In even more terrifying matters, Shelley is faking card tricks with Linda like Venkman would. Oh, and Cheryl is possessed or whatever, and does one of the most gruesome things ever. Ooh, that hurts to watch. Good thing it's all just... Oh, fuck. Ah! Ow, what the fuck? Jesus. That sucked. Anyways, she tosses her friends around like rag dolls until Scott hits her in the face and,
This is Sparta!
into the basement. Moments later, the force continues its way to the cabin and smashes the window of the room Shelley's in. Fun fact, the way they achieved this shot was just making a T-shape out of wood, placing the camera on it, and running at the window, which made it break before the camera touched it. Which is super dangerous because they used real glass right near the actor, but hey, it looks cool, so it's definitely worth it. Scotty goes to find his woman, but only finds a tacky-looking bathroom instead. Yellow walls? Really? In all seriousness, Shelley is now possessed and scratches the fuck out of Scott's face with nails that would make Freddy jealous. Scott does some wrestling with his demonic debutante and manages to cut up her hand quite a bit. And even though Ash was the only one to know dismembering the Deadites is the only way to kill them, he's not yet the boomstick-holding, catchphrase-spouting anti-hero we all know and love today. In this one, he's just a normal guy who's scared shitless. So he kinda just stands there as Scotty stabs her in the back with the dagger and causes her to spit up blood, milk, and other gross-looking liquids. She's not done yet as she bounces back and Ash, still cowering in the corner, provides no help. So Scott, in a badass move, snatches up the axe and takes his girlfriend down. He rips her apart in no time flat, and the two decide what to do with her.
We're gonna bury her.
Not my first choice, but okay. They get rid of Shelley, and they just can't seem to come to a compromise of getting out of there.
Well, then we'll leave her here. Until we can send somebody back.
What are you, crazy?
Look, I'm getting out. I don't care what happens to her. She's your girlfriend, you take care of her.
Really, Scott? I give you huge props in the last scene, and you gotta turn around and be a douchebag? He says sayonara, and Ash comforts Linda, as her previous injury begins looking mega infected, and, wonder how mine's doing. Oh, so I guess it's just gonna be one of those days. No, you don't! This is about to be the dumbest thing I've ever done! I don't feel so good. What happened? I need to stop day drinking. Now, where were we? Scott returns all bruised and cut up, and Ash reassures him.
Oh, we're all gonna die here. No, we're not gonna die. We're all gonna die, all of us.
Just you guys are. Scott starts spitting up blood, and Linda acts like an asshole, so Ash starts smacking up the possessed fuck. But they start using that A1 manipulation as Linda begs for help, and Cheryl acts like everything is fine and dandy.
Ash, help me. Let me out of here. I'm all right now. I'm all right now, Ashley. I'm all right.
But in our latest edition of Slasher Family Feud, we will soon find out this whole scene of them being not possessed anymore is one big
Lie!
You're absolutely right, Steve. Let's see how this actually turns out.
I'm all right now, Ashley! Come on, lock the chain, let me out!
Well, that turned out about as well as giving yourself a paper cut in the webs of your fingers.
Oh, you bastards! Why are you torturing me like this? Why?
Bruce Campbell is truly a national treasure, but yeah, the Deadites continue their attacks by creepily singing nursery rhymes.
We're gonna get you, not another peep. Time to go to sleep.
And Ash gives Scott some water, but he's, sleeping. Yeah. Linda returns with that big-ass dagger, only for Ash to impale her on it as well, and he drags her ass out to the shed and whips out his weapon of choice. Okay, perfect. Now chop her up and... Oh, right, I forgot. He sees the necklace around her neck and has second thoughts. Back in the cabin, Cheryl begins tearing up the cellar floor like an angry mom on Black Friday, and Ash buries Linda like Chucky in Child's Play 2. But before long, she pops up again in the most Return of the Living Dead way possible and starts cutting up Ashley's leg like it was a cat scratch board. I just cut off my own hand, and it didn't hurt as much as watching that. At least I think. He eventually knocks her head off, and the headless corpse begins leaking all over Ash. He heads back inside and notices the cellar door wide open for any old deadite to escape from, and he finally decides to weapon up and shoot at them. Another fun fact, Bruce is shooting live ammo in this shot, which is seriously really fucking dangerous, but thankfully no real people got shot in the making of this movie. I hope. He splats a few more fake hands and begins running around the house trying to keep them out, and it's a really well done scene. Its handheld feel makes it feel more psychotic and scary, and watching Ash slowly descend into madness after losing his friends and can only survive by killing the ones he loves is really neat. But Ash heads down to the cellar once again, and in one of the coolest scenes in film history, the whole basement begins flooding with blood, spraying Ash in the face, coming out of wall sockets, and even the walls themselves. And yet another fun fact, this whole premise, as well as the fake Shemp's title, was inspired by the OG slapsticks, the Three Stooges. And in one of the best shorts they ever did, A Plumbing We Will Go, they, being themselves, naturally cause mayhem when they're mistaken for real plumbers and flood a mansion. And to think of it, this scene in The Evil Dead is a better send-up to the Three Stooges than the actual movie.
This is an iPhone.
iPhone? Hello? Hello? There's nobody there.
He starts remembering the beginning of the movie,
Shut up, Linda!
but instead of acting like a pansy, he ain't fucking around no more and returns upstairs to trip balls. So yeah, he's royally freaked out and begins shooting holes in windows and shit. And after standing there for a while, everything seems fine. But of course it isn't, so he blows a hole in the deadite. But did you see it? The blood tube is visible in the shot, plain as day. But where?
Right there!
Exactly. Scott's now possessed too, and begins to attack Ash like Michael Myers would, and therefore Ash just sticks his thumbs in his eye sockets. Ugh, ew, gross. And he pulls out the cork and lets Scott's insides flow. You think deadite wine is any good? Probably sour as shit. Anyways, Ash remembers the necklace MacGuffin from earlier and uses it to lasso the Book of the Dead and toss that piece of shit into the fire. Yet again, another fun fact. The original purpose for that stupid necklace was to use the sunrise to refract light onto the book and burn it that way. But that didn't work, so they just said whatever and used a fireplace instead. But I can only imagine how horrific that room smells right now. But with the Necronomicon Ex Mortis now destroyed, the deadites melt and disintegrate in some top-notch stop-motion effects, which is sweet as is, but is made even better when some more demonic hands pop out of them, only for those to die soon after, and everything is safe once again. What a fantastic climax. And as Ash hobbles his way out of the cabin into the morning sun, the Force returns and rushes through the cabin and attacks Ash in the final moment of the movie. It's funny that in reality, Sam Raimi drove through the cabin on a motorcycle and ended up running into Bruce Campbell. Now that's friendship. And that was The Evil Dead, and I love it. It's not a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, and I could easily complain and nitpick little things wrong with it, but that's not why I like it. For one, it's the perfect movie to watch with a group of friends or at a party. It's got a great mood and atmosphere. The isolated location worked not only because of the low budget, but made everything more claustrophobic and close-knit. The small cast also means that you got to know most of them and understood them from a character standpoint. Scott was a fun party guy, always up for an adventure. Ash was a cool guy who was also a little bit shy, but capable. Cheryl was an artist just along for the ride, and so on. So when they begin getting torn apart by the evil force, it actually had weight to it. The effects are awesome, from the gallons and gallons of fake blood, to body parts getting chopped off, to one of the most hard-to-watch leg stabbings in cinema history. That, mixed with the fantastic stop-motion animation, makes it well worth a watch for those cornball cheese moments alone. Sam Raimi and company managed to make a great movie that paid homage to the simpler days of horror while thrusting itself into the mainstream and making Ash Williams, as well as the Deadites and location, a modern horror staple that any casual fan of the genre can recognize. And through all of its shortcomings, the cast and crew still managed to stitch together a fun and enjoyable movie that spawned 2 great sequels, a remake, a TV show, comics, lots of merchandise, and some of the most loyal fans in all of horror. I love this movie, and its hour-and-a-half runtime flies by every time I watch it. I love the effects, characters, setting, and everything in between. It's a well-deserved cult classic and one of my favorites. And I'm going to give The Evil Dead an A, because what it accomplished, not only in the movie, but horror in general, staples itself as one of the greats, even if some technical flaws distract you here and there. Now seriously, what the fuck happened to my hand? Hey, fella?
Hi.
You look familiar. Like me.
Yes, I needed a hand.
Who the hell are you?
I'm Pteronectus. And I've been trapped in that book for centuries. And now I can finally... What?
It's just crazy. You're like my evil twin.
Anywho, now that I'm here, it's time to...
I deal with enough shit already. I don't need an evil demon twin too.
That wasn't very nice. This is not a game, boy. I'm more powerful than you can even fathom. Only reason you're not dead already is I was grateful for your severed appendage and retrieving the book. Ha! Your bullets cannot stop me. Ah, fuck!
Nosferatos, Aminon, Resin, Outsiders,
No!
Romas,
Stop!
Platus, Maguffinus!
No! Not the rift! I just got back! No! You haven't seen the last of Pteronectus!
Fuck you! That was the second weirdest thing to happen to me this week. Why is my life like this? You've been annoying enough as is. This should keep you at bay until the sequel. These interruptions just keep getting weirder and weirder, huh? I'm Confused Reviews. Thanks for watching. Fuck.